Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video, let's bring you a closer look at the Bommer 1515H-603. So the Bommer 1515H-603 is a double-acting spring hinge. The 1515 series specifically is for doors 1.1" to 1.5" thick. Although, yeah, 1.1" to 1.5" for the 1515 in terms of how thick of a door you can handle. If you've got a 7/8 1-inch thick door, go to the 1514 series. The H part of the part number means it's a hold open, and we'll go over that in a moment, how that works. And the 603 stands for the fact that this is a zinc coated, a zinc plated finish, corrosion resistant. Zinc is a very good option for an exterior application. Not necessarily that it's meant for exterior, but it's more corrosion resistant. I would use this in an area that might have a little more humidity than average. Maybe in a, I would elect to use this if you had a door to a kitchen, something like that in a commercial setting. Available in a non-hold open as well, and available in several different finishes. So, focusing in on the 1515H, maximum door width is going to be 18" door height 42". So this is intended for a small cafe style door, and then maximum weight of 18 pounds. It is a steel based item. The door leaf, so this is the top with the hold open bearing, and they're obviously not handed. You can install it either way. This is the door leaf. This is the pocket that the door sits into. Okay. The door leaf is intended to be mortised on this hinge. Then turning it around to the jamb side, the jamb leaf is intended to be surface mounted, as is the mechanism provided that helps accomplish the hold open feature on this hinge. Now, there is a link to the instructions and the template below this video. Let's talk, please fire up the template link first. Let's talk about this. First of all, the template gives all the important dimensions pertaining to this hinge. More dimensions than you really would need. Gives everything important dimensionally about this hinge. I won't beleaguer all those points by holding a tape measure up to this hinge. They're all there. The part that we do need to review is on the template, the size requirement of your door and frame. So, obviously, you can see that this is a specific amount of thickness of all the workings of the hinge that you have to, plan for, to allow for when sizing the door and the inside width opening of the frame. So, looking at the right-hand side of the template, you see a chart. Well, you don't really see a chart, but you see a drawing showing you how to accomplish all of this. So you can either start with the inside jamb width, or you can start with the actual door net width. Generally, the framed opening is done. That's generally made, so you generally start there. And then modify the door to suit the need of what you're dealing with. Occasionally, you might have a door that you can't modify in the width at all, and you need to create an opening, a jamb, to accommodate both the door that you can't change and the hardware. So, the information in the upper right-hand corner of the template shows that you've got a frame sizing information, you've got the door, you've got the B clearance, okay, and then you've got how much prep needs to be allowed for on the hinge side of the door. So, first of all, the margin that they've changed this template a little bit, it's less obvious to me on how to do this, or at least I believe they have changed. No, they haven't changed it. That template's over 10 years old. the gap that you're going to allow, if you are, and the instructions call for you to mortise the door leaf to the edge of the door, is going to be 0.062 plus 0.187. So 0.062 is a 1/16 of an inch. 0.187 is 3/16. So that's a 1/4 inch margin between the door and the jamb, provided that you're mortising the door leaf. If you're not, you're going to increase that value to 5/16 because you've got 0.062 plus 0.25, which is a 1/4 inch. So a 1/16 and a 1/4, 5/16. So either a 1/4 or 5/16 on the hinge side, depending on if you're mortising it. Let's just go with the concept that you're going to mortise it because that's how the instructions call it out. Then you have your B clearance. Dropping down in the table below the diagram, the plan view of the door, go to the 1515H. Okay, you can see that the B value, the B clearance, can either be 0.25 or 0.125. So that's either 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch. Those columns are titled square edge door or round edge door. So if you are going to provide a radius on the edge of the door, so that your door edge looks like that, then you'll go with the 1/8 inch margin. And a radius on something like this, let's see if the instructions call out. They don't. A radius on something like this is, maybe 7/8 of an inch radius. You don't want your radius to be greater than, meaning the radius to be a larger radius when you make the radius edge on the edge of the door than, let's say, half of your door thickness. The math of that works out to be, if your radius is too slight or too large of a radius, then there's not enough taken off of the edge of the door. If this is the jamb and my fist is a square edge door, then there's not enough taken off the edge of the door, and there's going to be a conflict between the outside corners of the door, my fist is the outside corners of the door, and the jamb. So you've got to get enough of a radius on there to clear out these areas so that the door can swing in and out. In this case, it would go like this, okay? Because you're doing only the style opposite the hinge. You wouldn't do any of this treatment to the hinge side. If you're going to leave it square, and that's the most common, allow a 1/4 inch. So in this example, if your inside frame opening was 18 inch, which is the maximum door size Bommer recommends for this hinge, you've got a 1/4 inch mortising, you've got a 1/4 inch on the hinge side because you're going to mortise the leaf, and then a 1/4 inch on the other side, so you're at 17.5 inch. That's the net door size. So you can see that if you've got an 18 inch door and you can't change the door size, you'd have to be at 18.5 inch on your inside frame width. If you have a pair of doors, the math still works out correctly, okay? But you would need to apply the B clearance to each of the doors, because if you've got two doors going past each other, if you've got square edge doors, you could make those two corners hit. So you've got to be cognizant of that situation. If you can radius your doors, that's nice, because then you get a tighter margin. But the fact of the matter is you've got a 1/4 inch on the hinge side. So whether or not you have an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/4 inch on the opposite side between the jambs may not matter. So anyway, if you want to discuss how to put a radius on the edge of a door, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm very ready to discuss that at length with you. I've done it countless times and know the tools, the procedure, how to set it up. So reach out. So now moving on, we've discussed how to margin a net door width or an inside frame opening to determine that. Now let's go to the instructions. So there's a list at the top. We're dealing with the link called instructions. We're dealing with the information only on the left side because we're dealing with a hold open. Now, List of parts at the top. Let's go over those. Obviously, you have the business end of the operation. You've got the hinge. Okay? You have the hold open keeper, which is this piece of metal that has a little turned over finger on it. You have a tension rod, black piece of steel. You have 2 tension pins. This order for the client has 1 hinge on it, so there would be 2 pins. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Then a bag of screws and a complementary finish. Step 1, release the spring tension, if any tension is set, on the hinge. These hinges ship with the tension, with no tension on them at all, so skip step 1, that being the case. Step 2 is to mortise the edge of the door for that door leaf, and you can see the dimensions that it gives you. And that paperwork will be in the box with you when you receive it. Cut out edge of door to receive door flange and provide clearance for hold open keeper. Simply step 2 gives you the depths of those 2 mortises that you need to do. Okay. That dimension is a little flaky on the first width. It is 2 1/4. Those dimensions there are a little flaky on that template. Anyway, this first dimension is 2 1/4, and then 2 5/8. That one you can see a little bit better. The slot will go through the door, is what it's going to do. You'll cut that slot basically through the door, or depending on your door thickness, you know, you can place that onto the door and make sure that your door is centered in the cavity here, and then mortise it appropriately. 1/8 of an inch thick for the outside plate mortise, and then the body mortise is 3/16 thick. A simple job for a router. If you're doing 1, well, probably would be doing 2. You know, maybe a chisel, but a chisel is just not the right way to do this. A template, a router is the preferred way. So step 2, you've made your mortise in the door. Step 3 is attach this leaf to the door itself. Okay, great. Now you've got the hinge attached to the door. The second step now you're going to need a third hand really, is to attach the frame leaf to the jamb, get that positioned correctly, and once that's positioned correctly, I've turned the hinge around so now you're looking at the backside. Once you've got that positioned correctly, your hold open keeper simply nests right on top of here just as it's shown. So it's that simple. And you screw that down. Now, at this point, you've got a door that's just hanging real sloppily off. You'll want to bring it up into the space, into where it's supposed to be. Maybe get someone to hold it there for you. And at this point, your installation is going to look like this if we're looking at it from the backside. Okay? That's what the end of it looks like. Now that finger is going to sit into that available open cavity behind this roller. Okay? What happens, talking about, let's just move on to the hold open aspect of this now. What happens at this time is when the door is pushed open, that roller bearing comes over that finger, and then the finger will seat into the other opening that's in front of the roller here. And it will hold it open like that. Okay? That's how that's going to hold open and work. Works very well, by the way, also. Now, step 5, setting tension. Very, very simple. With the tension collar, and that's this collar with the holes in it, there's 2 of them, pointed up, you'll insert the tension rod and turn it clockwise. As you're looking at it, turn it clockwise. And as I do that, you can see I reveal new holes. And it's into one of those new holes that you would drop a tension pin. And that's these little doodads here. They only fit in one way, so there's only one way to stick them in. The big end goes in. Okay, and that's what keeps the tension set. So step 5 is place door in closed position, apply tension to each spring and release tension pins. Adjust tension as required. Do not apply tension past third hole of tension collar, otherwise the spring, you're using it beyond its engineered situation, its design. You could break it. The spring will contort, like a spring will get wavy like that if you've got too much tension on it. You can see it in a spring in a overhead door a little bit. And that's it. That's really all you should need. These are light duty doors. All they're going to do is come back to center. Having them hold open would be appropriate if you've got something, a situation in a restaurant, you know, some situation where you're coming in and out. Now, 18-inch doors, you're going to very commonly use those in pairs because one 18-inch door doesn't make any sense. So you'd have a 3-foot opening with 2 little cafe doors, okay, that you could have hold open should you need. And that's how these really work. I've installed these. I've not gone into gory detail of how to do the machining because that's probably more the realm of someone who makes a living as a carpenter. But I've done it and would be happy to lend my advice should you need. Feel free to reach out. The last thing that I'd like to show you is the Bommer logo. Right above it, it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them as a distributor. If you have any questions on the Bommer 1515H-603 double acting spring hinge or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.